When World War II reached Greece, the odds were overwhelming. Italy invaded first. Then came Nazi Germany. Greece was outnumbered, outgunned, and short on modern equipment, yet the country refused to collapse without a fight. From rugged mountain defenses to desperate air battles, from old rifles to coastal guns, the Greek military fought with extraordinary courage, discipline, and resilience. In this video, we're breaking down the weapons, vehicles, aircraft, ships, and defensive systems that helped Greece resist the Axis during one of the darkest chapters of World War I. So let's begin. The backbone of the Greek army during World War II was its infantry. One of the most important weapons in Greek service was the Mannlicher Schönauer rifle. This bolt-action rifle was chambered in 6.5 by 54 mm Mannlicher Schönauer and was known for its excellent accuracy, smooth bolt action, and dependable performance. Greek soldiers carried it throughout the brutal campaigns against both Italian and German forces. Even though Greece lacked large quantities of modern weapons, this rifle remained a trusted and effective tool in combat. Older rifles were also still in use. The Lebel M 1886-93 rifle, a much older design, remained in reserve service at the start of the war. Despite its age, it was still functional and reliable enough to arm second-line troops, fortress garrisons, and reserve formations. In a country facing invasion with limited resources, every working weapon mattered. For sidearms, Greek officers and certain support units often carried the FN Browning Model 1910 pistol, chambered in 9 mm Browning long compact, reliable, and easy to handle. It became a dependable sidearm for military leaders and specialist personnel. When it came to automatic firepower, machine guns played a crucial role. The Schwarzlose M1907/12 machine gun was one of the most important support weapons in Greek service. It provided sustained automatic fire, helping suppress enemy infantry and defend key positions. Heavier fire support came from weapons like the Hotchkiss M1914 heavy machine gun, often deployed in fortified positions, bunkers, and strongpoints. While heavy and less mobile, it could deliver punishing sustained fire against advancing enemy troops. Mortars were also essential. Greek forces used 81 mm mortars for indirect fire support, allowing crews to strike enemy troops hidden behind ridgelines, trenches, or cover. These weapons were especially valuable in Greece's mountainous terrain, where direct line-of-sight fighting was often impossible. Lighter mortars provided rapid close support to infantry units, giving Greek battalions the ability to respond quickly during defensive actions or local counterattacks. Greece's armored forces were limited, but they still played a role in reconnaissance, infantry support, and delaying enemy advances. One of the most notable vehicles in Greek service was the Vickers 6-ton tank, a British-designed light tank. Armed with a small cannon and machine guns, it offered useful mobility. Even if its armor was relatively thin, Greek crews used these tanks mainly for infantry support and reconnaissance missions, especially against Italian forces. The Greeks also possessed a small number of Renault tanks, including older French models that were already becoming outdated by the time the war began. Although some offered better armor protection, mechanical reliability was often a serious problem. In addition, Greece fielded a number of light tankettes and armored cars, some of them captured, imported, or improvised. These vehicles were lightly armed and lightly armored, but they gave Greek reconnaissance and cavalry units much-needed mobility during the early stages of the war. Armored cars, including various Mercedes and FN-based types, were used for scouting, patrols, and screening operations. They weren't heavily protected, but they helped commanders gather intelligence and react more quickly on the battlefield. If the infantry was the backbone of the Greek army, artillery was its hammer. One of the most important field guns in Greek service was the 75 mm Schneider field gun. Mobile, reliable, and effective, it provided direct and indirect fire support for infantry units across the front. This gun became one of the core weapons of Greece's field artillery during the defensive campaigns. For heavier bombardment, Greek forces relied on the 105 mm Schneider howitzer. This weapon could fire larger shells at longer ranges, making it ideal for targeting enemy troop concentrations, fortified positions, and advancing formations. In mountain warfare, heavy mortars were also incredibly valuable. Weapons in the 120 mm class could lob powerful explosive shells into difficult terrain, helping Greek forces strike enemy troops in valleys, behind ridges, or inside fortified positions. To deal with enemy armor, Greece also fielded anti-tank guns. The 37mm anti-tank gun was useful against lighter armored vehicles and older tanks. Although it struggled against better protected targets, it could still be effective in ambushes and defensive positions. More powerful anti-tank guns, including 75mm class weapons, gave Greek defenders a better chance against medium armor. When placed in concealed positions along roads, passes, or narrow mountain routes, these guns could slow down or disrupt enemy advances. Air power was one of Greece's greatest challenges during the war. To defend against low-flying enemy aircraft, Greek forces used 20mm anti-aircraft guns, including weapons like the Soliturn. These guns could be rapidly deployed and were useful not only against aircraft, but sometimes against lightly armored ground targets as well. For stronger protection, Greece also used 37mm anti-aircraft guns, including Hotchkiss designs. These offered more firepower and were often positioned around key installations, artillery batteries, supply points, and defensive positions. Even heavy machine guns were pressed into anti-aircraft roles. Maxim machine guns, mounted on tripods or elevated platforms, gave Greek troops another layer of defense against strafing runs and low-level attacks. Against the Luftwaffe, these weapons were far from enough, but they still mattered. The Greek Air Force entered the war with courage, but not with modern superiority. One of its most important fighters was the PZL P.24, a Polish-designed aircraft that formed the backbone of Greece's fighter force before the war. It was fast and agile for its time, but by 1940, it was already facing increasingly modern enemy aircraft. Still, Greek pilots used it aggressively in air patrols, interceptions, and defensive operations. Greece also operated aircraft like the WWII, a Czechoslovak biplane fighter. It was maneuverable and reliable, but badly outdated compared to modern monoplanes fielded by Germany. The Gloucester Gladiator, a British biplane fighter, was another aircraft used by Greek squadrons. Like many biplanes of the era, it was already becoming obsolete, but in the hands of skilled pilots, it could still be dangerous. More modern aircraft, such as the Block MB.151, offered better speed and firepower, but Greece only had them in small numbers. That meant they could never fully change the balance of air power. For reconnaissance, artillery spotting, and light bombing, aircraft like the PZL-25 were widely used. These planes helped provide intelligence, observe enemy movements, and support ground operations in the early stages of the conflict. The Greek Air Force was small, outmatched, and under pressure from the start, but it fought hard. The Hellenic Navy played a vital role in protecting Greek waters and supporting the broader war effort. Greek destroyers patrolled the Aegean and surrounding waters, escorted convoys, and helped defend key maritime routes. Armed with naval guns, torpedoes, and anti-aircraft weapons, these ships were crucial for both coastal defense and fleet operations. The Navy also relied on light cruisers and escort vessels to help protect shipping lanes and ports. Greek submarines were especially valuable. They carried out patrols, attacked enemy convoys, and gathered intelligence in the Aegean and Ionian seas. Even though Greece's submarine force was limited, it offered an important asymmetric advantage against Italian naval movements. Fast attack craft such as motor torpedo boats added another layer of coastal defense. Small, fast, and difficult to hit, they were ideal for hit-and-run attacks, reconnaissance, and defending narrow sea lanes. Along the coast, coastal artillery batteries guarded ports, harbors, and strategic landing areas. These static guns were designed to resist naval bombardment and make amphibious landings far more dangerous for the enemy. Greece didn't just rely on weapons. It also relied on fortifications. One of the most famous defensive systems was the Metaxas Line. Built along the Bulgarian border, the Metaxas Line consisted of bunkers, tunnels, machine gun nests, anti-tank obstacles, artillery positions, and fortified strongpoints. When Germany invaded in 1941, these fortifications did not stop the Wehrmacht forever, but they forced the attackers to fight hard, for every break through the line became a symbol of Greek determination and defensive planning. On the Albanian front, Greek forces also built and occupied field fortifications, including trenches, firing positions, gun emplacements, and fortified mountain strongpoints. These defenses were especially important during the Italo-Greek War of 1940–41, when Greek troops stunned the world by pushing Italian forces back in difficult mountain terrain. Wars are not won by frontline troops alone. The Hellenic Engineer Corps played a critical role by building bridges, reinforcing defenses, laying obstacles, placing minefields, and carrying out demolitions to slow enemy advances. In a mountainous country like Greece, military engineering could determine whether an army held the line, or collapsed. Signal units maintained communication through radios and field telephone lines, allowing commanders to coordinate artillery, infantry, and defensive movements under extreme pressure. And behind it all were the logistics and supply units. They moved ammunition, food, fuel, and equipment across some of the harshest terrain in Europe. Without them, even the bravest defenders would have run out of the ability to fight. Even after occupation, the Greek fight did not end. Greek resistance fighters continued the struggle through sabotage, ambushes, intelligence gathering, and guerrilla warfare against Axis occupation forces. These partisan groups disrupted enemy supply lines, weakened occupation control, and supported Allied operations in the Balkans. At the same time, many Greek military personnel escaped to Egypt and the Middle East, where they reorganized under Allied command. From there, they continued fighting in North Africa, the Mediterranean, and beyond, ensuring that Greece remained in the war even after its homeland had been occupied. Greece may have lacked the industrial power of its enemies. It may have had fewer tanks, fewer aircraft, and fewer modern weapons, but what it did have was courage. From the mountains of Epirus to the skies over Athens, from the bunkers of the Metaxas Line to the waters of the Aegean, Greek soldiers, sailors, pilots, engineers, and resistance fighters fought with determination that far exceeded their resources. They delayed Axis advances, inspired Allied nations, and proved that even a smaller country can leave a massive mark on history. The legacy of Greece in World War II is not just a story of weapons or battles, it is a story of resilience. And of refusing to surrender without a fight.